Hello and welcome to another Back to Jerusalem podcast. I'm Eugene Bach, your host for this time, and I'm coming to you live on delay from somewhere within the borders of Sweden this time. And I have my good friend with me from Poland, who is actually the director of our Polish office. And it's so great to have you. Have you been on our podcast before, Tim?
Yeah, sure. A couple of times. Well, a while ago, a long while ago.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a minute. I know that. I assumed that you had, but we've done so many. We're like, I think 700 and some odd episodes now for our podcast.
Something like that, like a few millions already.
Which is actually, I mean, that's not a lot for a normal podcast for people that actually make a living from podcasts. But when it comes to ministries doing podcasts, usually you get maybe 100 at the most. So, I mean, for us to have, because we crank them out every week. We usually have podcasts every week. We don't have a schedule. So that's one of our weaknesses. I mean, as you know, you've been doing a lot of stuff for social media for a while. People rely on schedules. It's just that I don't want to do a podcast when I don't want to do a podcast.
I guess you.
And I do when I do. So I really feel like our podcasts are mainly inspired. There are times where I'll do like 4 at a time. And then like I'll be traveling for a week and, we'll not have really that much to say. But I know that we've had you on before, so it's great to have you back, bro.
Well, you know that the podcast that you are doing, that was one of the things that really dragged me closer to the persecuted church, to the House Church of China. That really worked in my case. I started listening to your podcast in 2020, something like that. That's just after reading the Father Yuen's book. And then I found you, and I really got hooked in the Great Commission. That's so it works.
Yeah, what's amazing is now that you say that, I'm actually surprised. I met you for the first time in 2020. That's crazy, because it feels like I've known you most of my life. I mean, just we've gotten together so well. I mean, from the moment that we met, I just really connected. I felt that God was in that. And I remember traveling to Poland. It was during the beginning of the pandemic. Yeah. And I remember enjoying being in Poland because Poland didn't require masks at that time. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, this is great. I can take the train and everything and no masks are required. But I think that all quickly changed right after I left.
Oh, so it was your fault. Okay, now I get it.
It kind of was. I think it kind of was. In 2020, I was in Wuhan in January. And so, and then I left Wuhan and I traveled to different parts of Asia, Europe, and then the U.S. And I arrived in the U.S. at the end of January. And that's when President Trump was the president at that time. And he stopped our Chinese friends he stopped Chinese flights and everybody went off. Do you remember? Everybody went off. We had our ambassador meeting. You weren't with us on that one, but we had Ruth, our dear sister from China. She had joined us for the very first time. She just arrived and she came in to the ambassador meeting and we had to turn her around and send her back because our fear was if Trump stops flights coming in from China, that means flights going into China will also be stopped. And the world just kicked off, just like, how dare you stop flights coming in from China? And then a few months later, the whole world stopped all flights coming in from all places at all times. So it's amazing how things change.
I remember the clear skies.
Yeah.
It was strange.
Yeah, it was. And it was, I actually took refuge here and it kind of changed a lot of things. I stayed here in Sweden a lot more just because Sweden didn't require masks. They didn't shut anything down. They didn't have any requirements I remember people were just so confused. I'd get on a flight to Sweden and they're like, where's your test? Test for what? For COVID. You need to have a COVID test. Not for this flight, baby. Sweden doesn't require it. And they're like, no, every country requires it. No, they don't. You might want to check your books. Sweden does not require COVID test to get on a flight to Sweden.
That was a roller coaster time.
It was. And now we're moving into another roller coaster time. We've been looking at the news. 2024 seems like a year for war. We're seeing a lot of things start to take place where it kicked off a little bit on October 6th last year with the attacks on Israel, and then Israel reacting and going into Gaza, and then Lebanon with the Hezbollah on the southern border of Lebanon playing a part. then Israel engaging Lebanon, and then the Houthis in Yemen joining in, and then
Mm-hmm.
the U.S. now involved. And we've been seeing a lot of chess pieces moving. Now there was just a big bombing in Iran with
Yeah.
a funeral of one of their top generals that was killed by the Israelis in Syria. So now you have Syria, Russia, America, Iran, Yemen, Israel, and all these nations. You're starting to see some kind of buildup, and of course that's taken the view a little bit off of your back area, your neck of the woods with Ukraine, which is still
Yeah.
going on. People just aren't talking about it as much. I know that we're going to be talking about North Korea, but I just want to ask you how are things, because this all ties in with North Korea in my mind. I'll tell you why in a minute. But how are things looking right now with your neck of the woods with Ukraine?
Well, just a few days ago, Polish F-16s were scrambled during like one of the attacks on Ukraine because they were actually, I think they were trying to intercept any objects that might go into Polish airspace. Because something like that happened, I think around Christmas. One of the cruise missiles, it went through Polish airspace
Wow.
on their way into the Ukraine. So I guess we are more and more on edge here. Of course, December, Christmas time, that puts everybody a bit on ease, like everywhere on the planet. But now it's done, and yeah, 2024 will be a roller coaster when it comes to war. I agree on that 100%, and I see that here. I don't know, is it in the Western media, but there's so much of U.S. war equipment just being brought here to Poland and South Korean war equipment. Like this is just news. I'm not giving away any secrets. It's just local news in from Poland. A lot of stuff being imported here.
Yeah, because I mean, you guys are really feeling threatened. I imagine being right on the border of the Ukraine and Russia just not giving up. They continue to do their push.
Yeah, yeah. And the more and more people are getting uh, scared. Yeah, and that's just ground for revival again and again. So looking forward for more scared people, just trying to get the one who is the peace himself, the Shalom, the Jesus. So on one side we see the war, and on the other side we just see the ground for revival.
Yeah. And I don't know if right now I'm reading a book called Son of Jihad. Sorry, Son of Gaza. No,
Mhm.
still wrong. Son of Hamas. There we go.
Oh,
So I'm reading Son of Hamas, and really great story. I've actually heard about the brother several times. I listened to him speak, and one of the things that he said in his most recent interview with Pierce Morgan was that October 7th attack by the Hamas was a birthday gift to Putin, because Putin's birthday is October 7th. That's when they launched the attacks. And they said that basically it was to take, I mean, and I mean, this was from his point of view. He said that by taking the pressure off of Russia, putting all of the world's attention on Israel and against Israel because they were against Russia. I mean, people aren't as against, I don't know if you're feeling it in Poland as much, but at least here in Northern Europe, I just came from the States. There's not as much anti-Russian rhetoric in the news right now. It's almost all anti-Israel. And
wow.
the son of Hamas was saying this was a birthday gift. This was worked out together with Putin. Now I don't know. I'm not running any tin hot hat conspiracy theories, but the numbers add up, the dates add up, and the theory
Mhm.
works out. And so, I mean, what the son of Hamas was saying was right on. And I mean, he was the his father was the founder, one of the co-founders of Hamas. He goes back to the history of the founding of Hamas at the beginning of the book. I'm kind of halfway through it right now at the moment. But one of the things that he was saying was that these are intricately linked. Russia, Hamas, Syria, Iran. This is not by mistake. This is by design.
Mhm.
A lot of it, and so this was it was very interesting to hear. Have you heard that at all?
I heard that there is a book like that, but I didn't go deep into that.
Yeah, no, the October 7th. Have you heard that about Putin with his
Oh
birthday?
no, 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 no. I did like after what happened October 6th, I did like downsize on my media intake and about what's happening. Probably that's why I didn't connect the dots that it was his birthday. Because I discovered that there's so many things happening in the world right now, China and Russia and Israel. So I decided to like trim down the number of information I'm getting into my heart because that started to be burdening even for me. So
Yeah.
probably that's why I missed it. But that sounds pretty crazy.
Yes. And I just looked it up just to check. The attack by Hamas was Saturday, October 7th, 2023, and that October 7th is the birthday of Putin. So the son of Hamas, the guy that said that, his dates are right. And
Yeah.
he's not far off. I mean, whether it was done in coordination or not, he said it was done in coordination. Whether it was done in coordination or not, it did the job that he's accusing it of doing, which is taking the focus off of Russia and putting it on Israel. And so we've seen that across the globe. One of the things that we have seen, and this is the thing I want to get into with our podcast, because you've been doing an amazing job putting up our daily prayer for North Korea on social media, on YouTube, and doing videos on that. And it feels a bit like a pivot, like we're moving from one subject to another, but we're really not, because 2024 is looking like a year of more war taking place. Just this morning, I woke up to the news of North Korea shooting artillery rounds into South Korea, and weapons that are being used by Russia and even, is it Hamas? Let me look that up before I say it. Coming from North Korea. So North Korea. Here's the problem
Mm.
with North Korea. This is I don't want to touch on any conspiracy theories or any situations with North Korea. The only thing that I want to say with North Korea is that when things are quiet with North Korea, be careful, because it's like a kid. Anybody that's had small children, it's not when they're loud that you're the most worried about them. You have a daughter, you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly.
It's when they're quiet that you need to stop and find out what are they doing.
Exactly.
And right now with North Korea, they're a little too quiet. Yes, there were artillery that just shut off into South Korea, but we're starting to see a little bit of noise come from them because they've been quiet for the last few months, for the last couple of months.
Hmm.
So I think that there's something happening there, and in our spirit, we feel that it's time to pray for the
Agree,
nation of North Korea.
agreed, 100%. That's what I mean. As you were saying, like more and more war is happening, and when I started to quiet down on the media intake in October, that was the time when I started bugging you about the North Korea prayer month. And because I found out in my heart that because we can be Christians, we can be so reactive to what is happening in the media. There's a war here, there's a war here, there's a war here, and we just like switch from the conflict to conflict, from disaster to disaster. And when we do like this, we can forget about listening to the silent voice of the Holy Spirit just telling us on where should we really focus. And that's when I heard from the God that this is the time to pray for North Korea. And I started working on bringing up the series because I'm really really convinced, and since last 2 months, that this is the time that we really need to focus uh, on the prayer for North Korea, for their people, for whatever the Lord planned for this amazing nation.
Yeah, I just looked it up, and the October 7th attacks were carried out with North Korean weapons from
Wow.
Hamas. So Hamas was using North Korea weapons when they attacked Israel. 10% of the weapons that have been found in Gaza, that's a high rate. 10%. So one out of every 10 weaponry, so whatever the weapons might constitute as a weapon, 1/10 of them were made in North Korea. So there's a supply route and a support chain from North Korea to Gaza. Now, that might seem like an unlikely brotherhood because you have one that is staunch communist, which embraces atheism, and the other one, radical Muslims. But when it comes to fighting, I believe in the end times, there will be a unification between the worlds of darkness, I guess is the best way that I can think of putting it. The nations, I hate to use the term axis of evil, but I don't think that there's a better term than to say the axis of evil. Now, that doesn't mean, as you know, I'm just saying this for our audience, that doesn't mean that the North Koreans are evil. Jesus loves them. He wants them to hear the good news. And more than that, they want to hear the good news. The North Koreans are hungry for truth. They don't know what that truth is, but they know that there's a void in their heart. They know that there's a void. I've been in North Korea. I've spent time in North Korea. I've traveled around extensively in North Korea. And one of the things that I have seen is a deadness, because the people of North Korea were created in the image of God, and the government of North Korea separates them from their creator, is actively separating them from their creator. And that is the reason we are praying for North Korea, because we know that the gospel needs to be shine. The light needs to come. I'm thinking of the English word. See, brother, English is my first language, and I still have a problem with that. I don't know if shone, if I say the light should be shown in North Korea or shine in North Korea. Yeah, whatever it is. So, but yeah, we need to take the good news into North Korea. So I'm super excited. Now, when's the first time you saw this 30-day devotional? Is this a recent discovery that you've had, or can you give me a little bit, like, where did that journey come from, where you wanted to take these 30 days and put them up online?
Oh, like 6 months ago, I guess. 6 months, something like that, when I was just digging and searching on what content we have that should be brought back again to the spotlight. So that's like, yeah, something like that. I found it, and I was just like keeping it in my heart, like thinking, okay, when's going to be the right time? Because I knew it was precious. So of course the summertime was not the good time for that, because in summertime people are a bit more relaxed, and that's I mean, this is amazing and heavy content to that 30-day guide. This is just mind blowing. When I found that for the first time, when I listened to it for the first time, it's like, wow, okay, people need to know that. People need to know that North Korea was one of the revival centers in the beginning of the 20th century. People don't know that. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like Kim Jong-un all the time. That's why I say this is an amazing nation, because right now they're under the boot of many boots of communists, but they were such a bright piece of land in the beginning of the 20th century. I mean, that just blew my mind. And yeah, I mean, I love those people. And if I can be a member of the body of Christ that was moved to do something about it, I want to be that guy, that piece of the piece of the body. So that's why I started thinking about how to do that, collecting some stuff, thinking about the way to present that on YouTube, and voila, here we are. It's day number 5 right now.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this podcast, you can go into our Back to Jerusalem YouTube channel right now and follow along with our everyday prayer. It's only like, how long is each episode? Like 5 minutes, would you say?
That's 5 to 8 minutes.
Yeah, so 5 to 8 minutes. So it's not a long part of your day. Listen, you can put this up on YouTube, play it on your phone or your computer in the background while you're brushing your teeth, getting ready in the morning. You can have this as background noise when you're driving to work, walking to work, biking to work, however you get to work. You can even play it while you're in work. Have you missed a day or two? You can listen to a couple of days, because it does kind of go a little bit in order for time. Like we tried to share a little bit of the history, because like you were saying, Tim, there's a lot of people that don't know that North Korea, Pyongyang, the city of Pyongyang was considered to be the Jerusalem of the East. A lot of people don't know that, what was her name? Billy Graham's wife, Ruth Bell. So Ruth
Mm-hmm.
Bell Graham, who was Billy Graham's wife, she was born and raised in China. And at that time, Christians that were serving in China sent their children to the best Christian school in the region, which was Pyongyang.
Yeah.
Pyongyang had Christian schools everywhere, dotted throughout the entire city. Just like going to England today, London today, you see Big Ben. If you go to New York, you see the Statue of Liberty. If you go to San Francisco, you see the Golden Gate Bridge. We have these iconic scenes, in each city. And at that time, Pyongyang had postcards that had its most iconic thing that you would see on the streets all the time, which was evangelism and people handing out tracts.
Mm-hmm.
That was so common that it was like the Golden Gate Bridge for San Francisco, or like the Statue of Liberty in New York. It was just a common staple of everyday life in Pyongyang. And so a lot of people don't know the founder of North Korea was in a Christian family, born in a Christian family. His father was a pastor of an underground church. The oldest church that is still in existence in North Korea today is named after Kim Il Sung's mother. Kim Il Sung being the founder of North Korea. Kim Il Sung, the founder of North Korea, played the organ in church, was a part of church, which also people might think, oh, that's interesting trivia. But what does that have to do with praying for North Korea? Well, if you don't understand North Korea, you can get a glimpse of it by seeing the Christian background of North Korea. Because communism, as it's implemented, I don't know how it was implemented in Poland per se, but I do know that in North Korea, it is implemented like we see acts in the church. So if you go to church, you have, singing, and then reading from the word generally, and then someone speaking and explaining the word of God to the congregation, a song, and then the benediction or dismissal, and then you leave. Same thing in North Korea. Every single day they do these times where they come together and they sing songs to their founders, to the leaders, that are based on Christian hymns. They've only changed the words. Then they do reading from Jude Cho, the writings of Jude Cho, which is, independence and the writings of the leaders. And then they have somebody that will lead them into understanding the writings of the leaders more. And then they even have confession, where individuals will confess their sins to one another, sins against the party, sins against communism. And so we see that the ideas of Christianity in North Korea have been taken and replicated for the enemy to brainwash the people. So the people in North Korea are really being held prisoner.
Agreed. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I love about this 30-day devotional that you've put up on YouTube. And I mean, right now, the videos, can you explain a little bit about the videos? What if people go and they listen to or they watch the videos that you've put up, what are they going to find?
Well, they will mostly see there's like a background. There's a background, which is, how to say that? Sorry, I need to think Polish or think English quickly. So I made a template that it's basically, you open a video and you can see like a violin playing, like some old school stuff, and there's not too much happening in a visual context, but you can hear, and the sound quality was very very well recorded. So it's very nice to hear, and it doesn't matter if you're using headphones or just driving with your car. So it will not bother you if you will not see the video, because you will have the clear audio. So you just go to you click on the video, it will open up, but mostly the main part is just audio in the background. There's nothing super special in the video layer yet so far. I still have some stuff to do, but basically this is designed for every YouTube user so that he can or she can use it in any circumstances that he is using YouTube. So it's like very flexible. So it doesn't matter where you use it, how you use it. It's going to be still very good quality to listen to.
Yeah, and for me, I really believe that this is so powerful. Prayer for North Korea is absolutely powerful. And I know we say it all the time, but guys, I'm telling you, here and now, we've seen places like North Korea where we try to use soldiers, we try to use diplomacy, we try to use money, we try to use aid, we try to use help. Those don't change things long term. Mm-hmm. They're barely a Band-Aid. I mean, look at all the peace deals that we've had for Israel. Look at all the aid that has been sent to North Korea. There's just nothing that you can do to change North Korea. Nothing. I mean, we went to war with North Korea in the 1950s. When I say we, I'm talking about America. America went to war against North Korea in the 1950s. That was a part of a plan to stop the spread of communism for people that didn't want it, because communism was spreading forcefully. And so there was a battle. They ended up drawing the lines at the 38th parallel, which break up North Korea and South Korea today. That's the background of North Korea. That's the history of the Korean people. But military has been used. We've seen so many diplomatic carrots given to North Korea: money, aid, resources, open access to the market. Nothing works with that nation. The only thing that is going to change that nation is the thing they fear the most. And if we go to North Korea, you'll see that the thing that they fear the most is the good news of Jesus Christ. Anybody owning a Bible, anybody preaching the good news, anybody sharing anything that has to do with Christianity or Christ is executed. And the reason they have to execute is because they have to keep out that virus, because it will change the nation. It will do more than aid. It will do more than diplomacy. It will do more than military engagement.
Yeah, definitely.
We see that over and over and over. So right now, if people want to join us for the 30-day devotional, Tim, where would they go?
So you have to go to your YouTube app or website and just type "Back to Jerusalem" in your search, and you will have our channel and one of the videos from the 30-day prayer guide just popping up right in front of you. So that's going to be our YouTube channel, Back to Jerusalem. That's simple as it is. Just if you are using YouTube, So just go to our YouTube channel and you will see it right on. And especially, I mean, what really touches me about this, how it was designed, it makes you think. It's not like just a number of ways or things to pray for, but the whole story, which is being unpacked and episode after episode, like the step by step, is just making this picture of the whole picture of the nation, and makes you not just just listen and pray, but listen and think in your heart about what understand them more, and then pray accordingly. Just I don't know how to express that, but it really stirs the heart of the listener that you are just the way it's been done. So I'm really looking forward to hear people's testimonies after listening to the whole series when it will be up. It's going to be up anyway on the website, so it doesn't matter on the YouTube channel. It doesn't matter when you are listening to this podcast. You will still have the access to the all of the videos on our YouTube channel. So definitely jump in whenever you want.
Yeah, for me, this is one of the things that makes it different. This prayer guide, this prayer devotional of 30 days is different than any other North Korean prayer guide. What you're often going to hear about for prayer I've gone through different North Korean prayer regimes. And one of the things that I found is it'll be like, okay, these are the kind of people that live in North Korea. This is the situation that they're living in. And this is why you should pray. And every day, and sometimes it'll tell a story about little Johnny, and little Johnny was hungry and he really, needed food. And then he found out about God and prayed to God and God blessed him. Those are common, typical, testimonial type prayer guides. This is a little bit different. We do share stories from the field, but you will be enriched in your knowledge about the history of North Korea, little bits, little tidbits that will inform you why North Korea is the way it is, how it actually is on the field, and what is happening on the ground to bring the gospel to them today. What that does is that informs us as people praying for the nation, that we're not just praying in ignorance. We're not just praying with good intentions, but we're praying with knowledge about the situation so as to specifically tailor our prayers to engage in spiritual warfare.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, that's just a thought but so it gives like also a timeline. So there was this huge and a number of huge revivals in North Korea. In Korea, I mean, that was a Korea in the beginning of the 20th century. So that was a one country. Huge revivals. And this really should put all of us on alert. Like, okay, it was a country with huge revivals, and still when the virus of communism came, it just, it squished I would say the majority of body of Christ there. Like it attacked, and so for some reason they won. Communists, like they took over the half of the country. I guess we should all be like keen to think about what kind of lesson it brings for us now in the West. Like with so many young people trying to embrace the new communism or whatever. In the Christian countries that we are living, there's a huge lesson to be learned from what happened and what is happening in North Korea, for the sake of our nations.
Amen. So it's not just praying for North Korea. In many ways, it's us understanding how spiritual warfare comes into our own societies, our own nations, and what we can do to pray for our generation. Brother, it's been great to have you on. Thank you so much for the work that you've done putting up this 30-day prayer guide on our social media and on YouTube, so people that can go there and watch it and listen to it. If you want to join us for a 30-day devotional, you can go to backtojerusalem.com. There you will find on our top, the heading on our page, you'll see a link to our 30-day devotional, or you can go to our YouTube channel, and there you'll hear an audio form posted every single day so you can join with us. You can be together with us as we do this 30 days of prayer. I want to thank you so much for joining us for another Back to Jerusalem podcast. Again, I'm Eugene Bach, coming to you live on delay from somewhere within the borders of Sweden. God bless.